Welcome to Your Soul's Therapist podcast. I'm your host, Vlada de Sousa. This show is on a mission to offer you a space to understand yourself more deeply, expand your worldview, heal your heart, and elevate your energy. If you're looking for safe and grounded tools to support your healing journey, then this show is for you. I hope you enjoy today's episode.
Welcome, dear friends. Welcome back to Your Soul's Therapist podcast. Today will be a solo episode about the topic of looking at the theme of sense of insecurity. Insecurity in so many ways is a shared experience in some moments of our life. That sense of internal safety might have been challenged. So, from my perspective, insecurity arises in our system the moment when it's about ourselves, meaning our sense of self is challenged. And there is the moment where we start doubting ourselves. So we might say self-doubt or sense of internal shame or feeling I'm not good enough is one way to see insecurity. It's insecurity about myself. It's insecurity about who I am at the core of my being. And there is another type of insecurity that is more focused on the external world. So when I feel insecure, that also might mean for me, this world doesn't feel really safe. It doesn't really feel like a safe place. So I am developing different strategies to make myself feel a bit more safe in this world. So when we look at insecurity, very often we look at it as something psychological, while the psychological part to it is just a small part, and it's just not the root of that. So today, I want to, first of all, deshame this whole topic of insecurity, simply because there is so many heavy layers of energy around this topic. We are trying to deny our insecurity. We try to avoid the fact that we might feel insecure in some levels. We are using different coping strategies to not show to the world some vulnerable parts of us or insecure parts of us. And that becomes quite a heavy topic, something we're trying to hide, pretend we don't have, and almost like put it into the basement. So many times, witnessing, my internal system and system of other people, I can see how our inner world or our internal system of parts works with that insecurity in so many different interesting ways and trying to suppress it, hide it, pretend it's not there, or compensate over it. And I will get into the part around what we should do about insecurity. But I want to start with sharing with you from my perspective and from many, many, many people I worked with. I came to the conclusion that insecurity is a spiritual experience, and I will explain you why. When ultimately we are fully anchored in what I would say in our self, or in our soul, or in our sense of being, or in our spirit, when totality of our being, our presence, our energy, is one whole and complete piece, unshaken, unbroken, unfragmented. From the very beginning, that offers us this rooting sense, I'm here. So I witnessed and I have realized that when we are rooted in our soul, when we are connected properly to our soul or our sense of being or our energetic presence, that no matter what offers us a default experience of security and default experience of safety. For example, I might be going through something very challenging. My life is not stable, or something happened to me. Maybe it's a health issue. Maybe another person is challenging me. Whatever it is, some kind of destabilizing event. If I'm rooted, anchored, and grounded in my soul, I have much more sense of confidence. I have much more safety, confidence, and security that no matter what, I am going to be okay. So, and that is very like deep underlying sense. No matter what, I will handle it. I will be okay. I will survive it. I will go through it. I will manage it. I've got this. So that sense is not an idea in the mind, and it is not coming from doing some sort of self, coaching kind of things, telling ourselves we can do it. It is not in the mind, this knowing that no matter what, I will be fine, and no matter what, I have got this, is not coming from the mind. It is coming from the root of our sense of self, from the core of our being. I can say from the soul or from our spirit. So when we are grounded, rooted, connected, and integrated in our soul, the life doesn't feel that much dangerous and that much threatening. We do not feel like we need to constantly prove ourselves. We need to show to the world that we are good enough and the world needs to respect us and we have something good about ourselves. We don't need to pretend. We don't need to force anything. We don't need to work really hard to compensate something in us that doesn't feel secure. On the other hand, when spiritually, energetically, there is some sort of split, and again, I have witnessed that in my work so many times. You can call it, split psyche, but I wouldn't call that a split psyche. It is a split in our being. It is a split in our energy. It is a split in our soul. In shamanic tradition, that's what we would call like a soul loss. But we cannot lose all of the soul all at once together. When we lose a part of ourselves in some way, and I will explain all the ways we can lose parts of ourselves. When that happens, a part of our soul or a piece of our soul separates from us. In psychological circles, that calls dissociation, when we somehow dissociate, disconnect, we split from the totality of our being. So from everything I have witnessed, I came to the conclusion that the more this disconnection, this dissociation, this split and fragmentation happened to our system, to our being, to our soul, the more it makes us feel insecure, unsafe, incomplete, not whole, shredded in pieces. So understanding where my insecurity is coming from, where your insecurity is coming from, is really important. And also knowing that it's not about coaching yourself out of insecurity. You cannot coach yourself out of insecurity. It will be a coping strategy. What you can do is to understand how you can bring parts and pieces of yourself or parts and pieces of your soul back together to create a deeper, more rooted sense of your being, of your wholeness, of your presence as a being, as a soul, as an energy, as a presence, as your essence. So to wrap it up in a way, there is no way we can deal with insecurity that is only psychological, that is rooted in some kind of coping strategies. Very often, I receive requests from people that approach me and ask me if I can help them or if I can support them. They point towards parts of them that feel insecure or to that sense of insecurity. And what they're actually asking me is what I can do, what I can teach them, what I can coach them, what I can do with them and for them to not have that insecurity, not have that sort of weakness present there any longer. Because when we feel insecure, it actually does weaken our system. It weakens our presence. It weakens our ability to cope with things and challenging people and challenging realities. It does weaken us. And that weakness is not physical. That weakness is not psychological or mental. That weakness is a spiritual weakness. And so people would be asking, what can I do? Which book should I read? Which practice should I do? Tell me, let's do something about this insecurity. Let's manage it somehow. So that usually request is coming from a manager parts of our system, and that's fair enough, because feeling our insecurity maybe is the most uncomfortable out of all feelings. It's the feeling like I am not enough, or it's the feeling like this world is not safe for me. And both are truly, 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 and deeply, sometimes unbearable experiences. So when I work with people on insecurity, I want to understand what made them originally feel this way. Which experience took away a piece of their energy or a part of their soul? What happened to them that their system kind of split or fragmented? And, you know, when you are one whole piece, there is this sense of connectedness, anchoredness, you know, one solid piece. But when you cut this one piece in half, it's already not the same. And when you cut this piece in many, 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 many different pieces, then the sense of insecurity or weakness will be even more prevalent. So I want to understand and look back into our story and see what were those moments where on some level it felt like someone pulled the rug from under our feet. It could be external safety, or it can be something about how we feel about ourselves. Very often, invalidation is a powerful way to make someone feel very insecure about themselves. So invalidation meaning people don't see you for who you are. They don't relate with you in an honest way. They don't see you, they don't hear you, they don't get you. They might be even project something on you. Sometimes our childhoods are truly challenging experience, full of moments where someone told us something or looked at us in a certain way or approached us in a way that made us feel unsafe, made us feel not good about ourselves. Something happened. And in that moment, especially when it's unexpected, or when it's coming from a person you would consider, the most safe person in your life. For example, it's a parent, or it's a best friend, or it's a caretaker, someone we deeply attach to, someone we trust, someone we love. And if that figure that we believe should be there for us, should love us, should give us affection, care, support, and instead what we receive from that person, from that figure we deeply feel connected to, is some sort of invalidation or shaming or criticism. Criticism is a very disempowering method that we can use to take power away from another person and make them feel insecure. And of course, if we ask ourselves how many times we were criticized in our childhood for the way we are, for the way we want to do things, for how we express ourselves, it's enormous. Depending on the culture, of course, but very, very often we have been growing up in critical environments. And if that's not your home, that's your kindergarten, or that's a university, there are so many places where there is judgment, there is harshness, there is criticism, there is lack of love, lack of acceptance, and lack of connection.
I just want to pause here for a moment and let you know that if you feel called to go deeper on your healing journey and you need someone safe, someone who can truly support you, I'd love to invite you to explore my signature program, UNTANGLE, or my one-to-one retreats and private healing work. You will find all the details in the show notes or on my website, vladadesouza.com. Don't be shy. You're always welcome to connect with me in person through a complimentary call. And now, back to the episode.
And these environments where we are criticized, sometimes we are heavily bullied, sometimes we're heavily judged, compared, are those experiences that unfortunately split our system in many different pieces and many different parts. And so the healing starts from understanding what were those moments where part of me split off from me, where I lost my presence, where I lost a sense of connection to who I am. Because when we are born, we have a very pure sense of self. It's just me. It's just who I am. It's just how I am. For example, I'm loving, I'm caring, I'm giving, I'm curious, I'm excited, I'm energetic. And the moment someone criticizes something about us, it changes. It changes how we are. We become less spontaneous, less funny, less curious, less playful. We become heavier, more serious. We start analyzing, we start thinking, performing. So a lot of traits, and I would say 90% of traits that we see in ourselves as adults of different ways we function and overdoing and overcompensating in our lives are the management skills and techniques that we have developed in our life because of what happened early to us. So when I look at someone and I understand this is a coping strategy, for example, needing to be very, very strong and very, very fit, or very, very logical, very, very smart, very, very knowledgeable and educated, or, you name it, something extreme, how I need to present myself to the world. The world needs to see me smart. The world needs to see me rich. The world needs to see me strong and capable. All of that are great things. There is nothing wrong with being smart, rich, capable, and healthy, of course. But we can see the difference when it is a natural way of being or it is a coping strategy. 90% it is a coping strategy. And sometimes it's a very extreme coping strategy, meaning if I don't exercise, if I put on weight, if I don't look good, the world collapses. Or if I don't feel like I can support conversation, or I'm failing at doing something at work or in my studies, again, there is a sense of I'm not good enough or I'm not safe enough. So we look at that as traits that help us to trace back to those places inside of us where the separation and the split began, from the moments where we have not been welcomed, accepted for who we are, when our environment wanted to change us, when the environment was not safe for who and how we are. When I look at someone and I want to offer them help and I want to offer them healing of those moments, first of all, we need to identify those experiences that changed us and from which moment we started to try and improve ourselves or cope with life. What were the moments? And the only way to really successfully work on those pieces and parts of us and the whole experience that it offers of insecurity is to see how we can come back to oneness. Coming back to oneness is the path of security. So some examples of perspective of internal family systems. In internal family systems, we have the self, which we call self-energy. And that what we call is our, there's this beautiful presence, this essence. And in IFS, there are qualities to this essence: confidence, compassion, calm, curiosity, clarity, connectedness. There are beautiful qualities to the self. And then we have parts, many, many, many different parts of us. So the whole process of internal family systems therapy model is how can we minimize amount of parts, meaning help the parts of us to let go the jobs, the coping strategies that they have been stuck in for decades sometimes, and help them relax, unburden, and come back to self. So in IFS, every time we unburden a part of us from a job or a strategy that it has been forced into for a very long time, that part now can come back and reunite with ourself. And it's like a drop by drop. When you drop many, many times, it becomes a bucket of water. So IFS works in precisely that way. Every time we unburden a part of us and we bring that part back, integrate it with self, integrate it with our wholeness, the amount of self-energy, the amount of our soul, of our being is increasing, is growing. And slowly and surely, our presence starts solidify. And that offering us feeling more compassionate, confident, calm, clear, connected, curious, and courageous, right? So in IFS, the whole process of reuniting, coming back to oneness, is working with all these different parts. Some of them are manager parts, some of them are exile parts. Whatever these parts are, we help them, we heal them, we work with them to the point that they don't need to be apart anymore and they can reunite with self. In my own system, of course, I cannot say for anyone else, but in my own system, every time I work with a part of me, it adds up. By the end of the process, it adds up so much to how rooted and grounded and clear I feel in my body, in my bones, and in my energy. So drop by drop, by drop, by drop, by drop. Sometimes it takes time. If our system has been, in challenging environments and had to develop many parts so that we can cope better, obviously the process of healing takes longer. And that means we need to work with many, many different parts and all the way help them to keep feeling more and safe and secure so that they can come back to self. If we would look at shamanic tradition, they have this beautiful process of soul retrieval, meaning the shaman, right? Or you can do it even yourself as a meditator. You can connect and notice in which moments of your life a part of you got split, separated from you, got stuck somewhere. And you can intuitively start calling that part of you back, calling that energy back. And if you do this long enough, if you do piece by piece, part by part, the soul retrieval, keep collecting that energy back. Again, I use the image of a bucket and drops of water. When I guide someone through the soul retrieval process, through this shamanic journey, I invite them to see their energy or parts and pieces of their soul as like this liquid gold. And when we find it, we retrieve it, we bring that liquid gold into this kind of a vase, a golden chalice, and we keep collecting this gold into this chalice. And so we move through the line of life with this beautiful vase where we keep collecting our energy, our gold, our life force energy, drop by drop, piece by piece, until it's a full bucket of our gold, of our soul. And then we bring it in and we pour it inside of us. And that whole energy reconnects back into our being. So in shamanic tradition, this is another way of increasing self, increasing soul, increasing the energy of our soul, collecting the energy back. So ultimately, whether you choose to work energetically, whether you choose to work through internal family systems, these two modalities, first of all, they're very complementary because, of course, when you work with IFS in parts, there is energy to parts, right? So when we unburden energy that is not ours, our energy comes back and we feel more clear and rooted in our soul. So ultimately, if you do this long enough, you will slowly, not in 1 second, sometimes actually for some people, a proper soul retrieval or a proper IFS session can be so transformative that they feel like a very big shift in how they sense themselves. Sometimes it's a feeling like I'm split. And then the moment you work with something, it feels like, wow, I feel much more grounded. I feel much more rooted. I am here fully and completely. And both modalities are very complementary. If you do this long enough, with time, your bucket of self or your bucket of soul energy gets fuller, gets more complete. And that is the interesting piece, that then the psyche, because you cannot disconnect soul from the psyche. In fact, psyche is translated, I don't remember which language, but originally psyche means soul. So our psyche is our soul. And when we work with our soul, we work with our psyche. When we work with our psyche, we work with our soul. When you do this energy work, when you do the soul work, it slowly starts impacting the mind. And so whether before you felt like your mind is like scanning, unsafe, all over the place, self-doubt, many different strategies, you start feeling more in one place. You start feeling more solid. And again, I want to keep bringing this back home, that feeling anchored in your soul and feeling whole and complete in your being is the ultimate treatment from insecurity. Now, what our system is trying to do very often, because there is no other way, because there is, for example, you've never heard about IFS, you've never heard about shamanic healing, energy work, spiritual healing. What our system is trying to do, it's trying to cope. So in systems where there is unfortunately split, that creates that feeling of unsafety, that creates this feeling of insecurity, our parts might be forced in different ways of trying and compensating. We might feel we need to work a lot and really hard, right, to compensate the feeling of lack. We might feel that we need to be always in great shape. We need to control. The need to control is always equal to the amount of insecurity the system is experiencing. So again, proportionally, the more you work with your parts or your energy, the more you start collecting all of that back into one place, the less you feel the need to control yourself, others, and the whole world. So that is a kind of a cue here for you. If you feel less and less need to control, that's a sign that you feel more and more connected to your being, that there is more and more soul coming back to you, that there is more and more self-energy building up in your system. So pay attention to the need of control. I remember myself, there were times where it felt like if I will not control, everything will collapse, my world will collapse, I will collapse. That was a very real experience. And I'm really happy to see that with time, obviously doing all this process and all this work of reuniting with my soul, offers this place that there is no need to control. And there is place I'm safe and I'm enough, even when I do not need to control. So when we don't need to control, that means we are in much more relaxed state, we are much more peaceful, we are actually present in the moment. Our nervous system is regulated, we are not burning ourselves in stress. Everything and everyone are benefiting so much from more soul and less control. So the strategies that actually drain us is trying to compensate for this internal sense of insecurity, need to control, perform, act, work hard, accumulate things. That is draining. Our parts might be perceiving that as a way of compensating for insecurity, but in fact, the more they do it, the more the sense of insecurity grows. So with time, it becomes very polarized experience. There is a lot of insecurity and there's a lot of hardworking activity going on. As I see it, a human journey is a journey of coming back to sense of security, or coming back to wholeness of our being, wholeness of our soul. And I invite you to explore energetic ways of working with your system. I invite you to explore spiritual ways of working with your system, and internal family systems, definitely. Internal family systems actually encompasses energetic and spiritual work together, because every time we work with parts, they are energetic and spiritual beings as well. So it all comes together. So do not waste your time on trying and learning some kind of coping strategies, coaching techniques, how to deal with insecurity, but instead focus on meditating. Meditation is a step one. Meditating and anchoring yourself more and more in that sense of presence. Doing activities that helping you connect with more of your soul. For example, your soul likes to express itself through dancing or writing or painting or speaking or singing. Engage in those activities that help you channel your own energy. Very, very often, those people that engage in different types of creative work, they report that they feel much more confident and clear. For example, when I'm teaching, I feel very, very connected to my soul. And I know that my soul has an aspect of it that is a teacher, is a guide. So when I do it, when I guide or when I teach, I ultimately feel my soul energy is running through my system. So what it is for you, I don't know, but you know what you need to do to feel anchored and connected to your soul. Obviously, I cannot recommend enough praying, any types of prayers, not the prayers that you have the words that you need to say and it's like by the book with rules. That's not a prayer. Prayer is when you close your eyes and then you, from some place in you, connect to something beautiful, to something like a source of love, a source of bliss, a source of beauty. That's for me the divine. That's for me God. When we connect to something that is unifying the life or the life itself. Prayer is maybe the shortest and the fastest way to connect to our soul. And prayer is not the prayer of God, give me something, but it's just a prayer of connecting and saying hello and admitting and noticing that there is a bigger energy, bigger heart, bigger love that we live in, that holds like glue everything together. So my recommendation is find your path back to your soul, back to your essence, through soulful activities that help you feel like yourself, through relationships where you feel seen, heard, and validated for who you are, not for what your parts are trying to show. Oh, like you're so smart, or you're such a good boy, such a good girl. No. Relationships where someone can see deeply your being, someone can see deeply your soul. And of course, your therapy process and healing work and all types of meditations, even shamanic journeys, where piece by piece you are guided to reconnect with the totality of your soul and totality of your being. So driving this point home, insecurity is a byproduct of a split of our spirit, of our being, of ourself. And security is a natural outcome of us coming back in oneness, in wholeness, spiritually and energetically first. Psychologically will just naturally follow. You don't even need to do anything for it. But energetically and spiritually first. That's what I wanted to share with you today. I feel it's important. I feel it's necessary. And I feel it's really valid to speak about this way of healing today, as most of us at the end of the day are every day, working very hard to minimize, compensate for some sort of insecurity we all experience on some level. I wish you well. Let me know if you enjoyed this episode. I'm very open to hear from you. And thank you so much for being here with me and listening to this podcast. And of course, if you found this helpful, please share with your friends, with your family. It will mean a lot to me and help this podcast grow and expand and share wisdom and healing with the world. Sending you all the love, and until soon.
Thank you for staying with me until the end. If you feel called to deepen this journey, you'll find everything you need in the show notes, including a link to a book complimentary call with me and more details about my work and today's guest. May you continue walk your path with clarity, courage, and self-led grace. Until soon.